Oof.
Oof.
Steve Donziger inspired this one, I think. But they figured out that they don't really need to jail migrants. So they'll just put an ankle bracelet on them and make them stay in these trailer homes. So this came out of Truthout, John Knefel, and I believe he's one of the editors, he's a blue check publisher. Okay. That Biden admin is launching a new program of digital incarceration, otherwise known as electronic monitoring for migrants caught crossing the border.
Incarceration.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's officially called home curfew. Includes over 150,000 people. Could expand up to 400. And of course, who's going to make money off it? The BI Incorporated subsidiary of private prison giant Geo Group. Gross. For profit.
And I think that's connected back to BlackRock too. So even funner there. Yeah. Like everything's owned by BlackRock. So
yeah. Right. So Rashida, another strongly worded letter delivered from 24 members of Congress, including Rashida, to DHS opposing the programs. Okay, including the new home curfew requirements. They also criticized the program's massive budgetary increases from $28 million in 2006 to $475 million in 2021. That's a bit much. Yep. So again, seeking to retool some aspects of border enforcement rather than adopt an approach that radically breaks with that of Trump and his predecessors. Blue Trump. Yep. You voted for Blue Trump. Yep. You voted for Blue Trump if you voted for Biden in so many ways. And actually worse, because Trump wasn't looking to escalate war with Ukraine or specifically with Russia over Ukraine. Of course, he was much more subservient, we know, to our anger and disgust in so many ways, but certainly not to the point of what's happening now. I think that diplomacy certainly could have won out, but so far nobody seems to want to have diplomacy, and the defense contractors certainly don't want to encourage diplomacy, and that's why you don't see cooler heads prevailing right now, unfortunately. So
why is my puppo just like staring into a corner?
You see,
why?
Is that that's not a window?
No, it's she's just like got her cornered nose between the couch and like the. What are you doing, puppo?
Puppo,
what are you doing?
Okay, so
what are you doing?
182,000 immigrants are confined in some form of alternative to detention. Oh, God. That number's up from 83,000 in September of 2019. So a lot of this has happened.
No, they're not cages.
Well, no, because they're allowed to roam around outside, but they have ankle bracelets.
Outside.
And what happens if their ankle bracelet, if they go outside that area, you don't want to know.
Yeah.
Right? They think, I guess this is more humane than the cages. So they're just slightly larger cages that allow you to breathe outside, which is better, I guess.
Well, and it'll also frees up prison beds. You know?
But there's beds in these facilities.
Right.
So.
Yep. Yeah, you can pay for your own jail cell. Pretty much.
The home confinement program appears to exemplify his muddled and contradictory approach. On the campaign trail, Biden promised to end for-profit detention centers, arguing no business should profit from the suffering of desperate people fleeing violence. Where's my ice cream?
Yep.
Right. He signed an executive.
Fat.
Come on, listen, fat. This is really bad stuff. Okay. The fact that private companies are still benefiting from the program is an effect, not a cause, of the expansion of digital incarceration. Ruth Wilson Gilmore and others have noted. So, yeah, this is
well, Axios is Remaining clear. Control of the program expected to be subject to stricter oversight and requirement and standard ATD protocols.
They're expanding.
Migrants to stay in their home from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. enforced through electric monitoring.
What? The effing F?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
It's pretty unbelievable. But again, I guess that's supposed better than keeping them in jail. Why? Because they can go and make themselves a sandwich. Is there food in their fridge? Can they go food shopping?
Well, it's,
probably not.
I don't know how. You know, when you bring someone to regular prison, you have to clothe, feed, entertain, like educate. There's a that
they do get to go
grillette.
grocery shopping, pick up kids from school.
Yeah,
but of course it reinforces the stigma.
But they have to pay for all that, right? They're having to pay for all that. They're paying for the food. They're paying for probably the housing. You have to keep the house. Right, so you're probably having to go to work, and it's essentially prison where you can stay in the.
I don't even know where do they work because they're illegal migrants that have come over, or they've come over the border illegally. So I don't know what you want to. They're detained and.
But are they paying for their home that they're being on house arrest for? Like
no, we're paying for that for sure. That's as a government.
Oh, okay, well, whatever. But I imagine that this will start like.
These are like for-profit private prisons that the federal government is paying to house these people until they can put them on trial, which sometimes can be months, which of course violates habeas corpus on top of it because you have the right to a speedy trial. So,
well, it sounds like fucking internment-y.
This is the key.
In some respects.
Geo Group and its subsidiary was recently awarded a $2.2 billion federal contract in 2020 to launch the program. Though the companies have said the actual contract was lower. Yeah, okay. Okay, so it's $1.9 billion. So what? Okay, the expanded program could be a boon to the company whose stock has fallen recently after booming during Trump's first year in office, when Trump ramped up all these border camps. Right?
Yeah.
And then he did remain in Mexico, and then they weren't building new camps, and then now Biden's trying to move the people from the detention centers that we had because they were like, kids can't be in cages anymore. So now they're going to be in these little, like, houses with ankle bracelets, I guess.
Yeah.
For how long? Again, 71 people died in ICE facilities from 2011 to 2018. But Office of Detention Oversight only collected information on 55 of them. 34 occurred in for-profit facilities. So we still need to eliminate, of course, the for-profit prisons. Okay. Biden administration is trying to find a technocratic fix for a political problem. That's a bad sign. All right. And again, support Truthout. This is a good piece. And I also wanted to shout out another Truthout article. And this, again, goes to speaking to the monstrous domestic policies that we have that are continuing under Joe Biden. Investigation shows that police are still secretly surveilling Minnesota activists.
Minnesota.
And this is an exclusive by our, published by Sharon Zhang. But this investigation from Technology Review, right, reveals that federal and local law enforcement agencies have been surveilling journalists and activists involved in the protests following the murder of George Floyd for over a year under a secretive program known as the Open Safety Net, despite claiming to have shut down the program in April.
The OSN. That's a lovely 3-letter acronym to learn.
Operation Safety Net. Officials announced it in February 2021, a month before the Derek Chauvin trial began. LEOs claimed that the goal of the program was to ensure the public was able to exercise its right to free speech, right? But instead, it's gathered a vast amount of information on activists, journalists, including pictures, documentation of the locations during protests, moves that are antithetical to the program's supposed goal of protecting free speech. Yeah, sure, that's what they want to do. Because the cops have been all about protecting free speech, right?
Yeah.
Right,
their free speech.
Yeah, their right to speak freely about exactly what they want and to prevent
freedom
everybody
they can say to pick their ass. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Program involved 9 agencies in Minnesota, 120 officers. Jesus. 3,000 National Guard soldiers.
Right, MIT Technology Review. Okay, so this is not like some fly-by-night rinky-dink operation. This is
no
a tech review from,
using algorithms and
like the smartest of the smart. All right.
Well, this is, I mean, is NSA involved here? No.
No, but CBP
That's what
did.
it seems like.
CBP is.
Okay.
They also helped surveil protesters in the media, lending helicopters to Minneapolis. We knew that. Okay. At the time, police were detaining journalists and uploading info about their location, photos of their bodies and faces. We saw this, where they would like take their cell phone and grab a picture of the journalist and ask them what their name was, or like a little video. We saw this stuff happening during the protest.
Yeah.
Program provides law enforcement with geolocations. All right, that's Intrepid Response. And I believe Intrepid Response might even be an NSO group thing. You know, that's that spyware.
Yeah.
They reviewed thousands of documents,
along with Norton.
Conducted hundreds of interviews. They were taken together. They reveal how advanced surveillance techniques and technologies employed by state, sometimes in an extra-legal fashion, have changed the nature of protests in the United States, effectively bringing an end to Americans' ability to exercise their First Amendment rights anonymously in public spaces. That's really, just surveillance cameras everywhere. Whether it's a Ring camera or a camera on an ATM or a camera where there are cameras everywhere. Everybody knows that. And everybody's phone's got a camera, and they can activate these things remotely, as we know, thanks to Ed Snowden.
Yep.
Okay, officials claim the operation isn't ongoing and doesn't exist, but the reporters found presentations, emails, and intel that clearly referred to the operation as OSN 2.0. So this is inflammatory stuff. All right. While the findings of this investigation are chilling. What's that?
Yeah. I was just talking about thought crime.
It lines up with an anecdotal and data-driven evidence that police and government are averse to allowing left-wing protesters to demonstrate and exercise their First Amendment rights. Police are 3.5 times more likely to use force against left-wing protesters than against right-wing protesters. I think that all of our friends have experienced that have been out there protesting, that is accurate, including Fiorella and Hinkle and Glory Jones and Nico.
Some of y'all get way too close to danger.
And Ricky Rance and everybody, So meanwhile, they've introduced and passed bills limiting protesters' rights in reaction to 2020 uprising, on top of the fact that many states are also passing laws that allow cars to run over pedestrians in protest. Wow. I can't. So now, in response to this, AOC. Shout out to everyone working to explode funding for surveillance programs like these across the country under the guise of fund the police, when in fact police budgets are already at some of their highest levels in U.S. history across the country. No facts, just vibes. And she's not wrong, but
just vibes.
Thanks for the virtue signal. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Sharon Zhang, member of the All-Star team. I've reached out to her, told her, love her work, appreciate her so much. She's one of the best out there.